Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of the Sports Reporters Roundtable. Eric Peterson and Hayden Goldie, the guests today, and we're talking, it's a Minnesota version. Obviously, some big stories, the big news, the Minnesota Twins firing Ron Gardenhire and the Minnesota Vikings with a new quarterback, Teddy Bridgewater, and that's where we'll begin with the Purple. The Vikings with a big win this past week over Atlanta, 41-28, led by Mr. Bridgewater in his first rookie start, or his first career start, I should say. He's a rookie, and guys, he didn't look too bad. In fact, he looked really good. 19 of 30, 317 yards, no turnovers. He also had a rushing touchdown. Hayden Goldie, I'll start with you. I mean, Mr. Bridgewater, what do you think of the first game?
Thought he looked good. I think he made some plays. I don't think they asked him to do too much. I thought, offensively they had a pretty good game plan. It always seemed like when they got to the 10-yard line or in, it was pretty much Matt Asiata time, which was, a smart move when you're dealing with a rookie quarterback, but I thought he looked good.
Showed some nice mobility.
It's Matt Asiata time.
Did you just say Matt Asiata time?
Is it or is it? Okay, Matt Asiata, 4 career NFL starts. He's had 3 or more touchdowns in 2 of them.
And I don't think
Matt Asiata time.
I don't think all of them have been longer than like 28
Doesn't
inches.
matter. Inside the 10, that's Matt Asiata
He's the king
time.
of the 1-yard plunge. Inside the 2-yard line's Matt Asiata
Guys,
time.
the Vikings did show a little mettle, too. I mean, they faced a little adversity. Atlanta rallied back from that game to take a 28-27 lead. The Vikings rallied back. Bridgewater leaves to everybody's horror, and Christian Ponder has to come in. But the Vikings defense made a stand. Harrison Smith with a pick there. Vikings defense holding that high-powered Atlanta team to 28 points. Not too shabby as well, E.
Showing mettle when you're down a point at home. If
Well,
you're going to fold up,
in the past, they would have folded.
If you're going to fold up shop, you might as well not even field an NFL team. I mean, what I liked about Bridgewater, he seemed composed. I only saw a couple bad throws in there. One where I think he overthrew a guy that almost got intercepted, and he had Jarius Wright wide open down the sideline where he overshot
did miss that one. That was bad.
But he showed poise. He showed accuracy. I still don't know if he has a great downfield arm, like he can get the big play, but the way they run that offense, maybe they won't need it. So I like the poise, but let's pump the brakes a little bit. It's one start. I think Christian Ponder had like an 80-yard completion his first pass. So to be a good quarterback in the league, it's all about consistency. It's not flashing one good game. I like what I saw to begin with, but let's see him do it on a consistent week-in, week-out basis.
How dare you mention the name of Christian Ponder when we're talking about Teddy Bridgewater?
It's the truth, man. I mean, would you want Jay Cutler? I mean, he's a Bears fan.
I got Jay Cutler.
You got Jay Cutler throwing 8
Cutler.
interceptions a game. It's all about consistency. Jay Cutler doesn't frustrate you.
Yeah, well, yes, he does.
How do we get off on a Bears tangent?
I don't
know.
Anyway, the big question with Teddy Bridgewater this week, as the Vikings prepare to play Green Bay on Thursday night, is will he play? He suffered, as we saw, a sprained ankle late in that game. He's limited in practice all week, listed as questionable. Guys, it's probably going to be a game-time decision. Hayden, do you think Teddy Bridgewater play? Should he play if he's less than 100%, or is it one of those things where maybe they should say, you know what, it's not worth it. It's early in the season, early in his career. We don't want to do anything to maybe jeopardize the rest of the season.
If he's not 100%, I wouldn't play him.
Really?
Yeah. I I mean, second NFL
Well, he's not going to be 100%. What if he says he's 85, 90%? Would you let him go and see how he is?
If it's noticeably affecting his ability to move, I would not let him play. Because really, what's the point? I know that Vikings fans are geared up. It's Packers, it's national TV. But really, unless you think the Vikings are going to the playoffs this year, which I don't, then what's the point of sending him out there when he's banged up? I would start
And before you answer, you talked about his mobility. One of the things that I think I was really impressed with was just Teddy's ability to kind of slide and move in the pocket, much more than Matt Castle had shown in the first couple of games. He did that really well. If he can't do that, basically he's maybe Matt Castle back there. I mean, that's one of his advantages that he's shown so far.
Yeah, but I like how he got rid of the ball quick. Maybe if he's at 80 to 90%, just the way he plays, he can get it out. If you get it out quick, you leave yourself less in jeopardy, and maybe you get rid of some of that read option stuff if he's at 80% and just do more straight handoffs. I'm torn. I'm with Hayden. Sure, you're playing the Packers and like to go 3-2, and this is why I hate this Thursday night game, especially early in the season. Not just this game. It's normally a bad football game. It's too early in the season for people.
It's money.
I know it's money.
It's money.
But at least wait till the bye weeks have hit. Now the bye weeks have hit. The teams that are coming off bye week should be playing in this Thursday night game. So it kind of bridges their 2-week gap into small, a 10-day break between games instead of one too long break. Because what was last Thursday? The Falcons Buccaneers, was that 82-0 at halftime?
Yeah.
And look how bad the Falcons looked against the Vikings. I just think the team that travels usually looks horrible. I think.
But then the Buccaneers bounced back and won the next week against a pretty good team, so who knows?
Thursday night football is bad. It's a bad idea.
Not sure if the Steelers are a pretty good team either.
Well,
Yeah, they're maybe not that good either.
Christian,
They're all right.
I think you're going to see Christian
Yeah,
Ponder
you
under
might see a whole
center.
lot of Christian Ponder, and that could be a scary thing against
Well,
Green Bay.
it's Asiata time, though. Just get
It
him
is
the ball.
Asiata time, but
Hey, some of the other guys looked really good too. I mean, Jerick McKinnon, it looked really good as back there, over 100 yards, 132, I think. And Jarius Wright, who hasn't done a whole lot in his pro career, he looked as well too. So if nothing else, you got some young guys who are starting to show that they can make some valuable contributions.
They look good, though, because you had to respect the pass.
Right.
If Christian Ponder's in there, they're not going to respect the pass. They're going to say, you know what, Christian, we've seen you the last 2 years. You can't beat us with your arm. So they're going to stack the line of scrimmage, and you're going to... It was a rare case where the pass set up the run, I felt, last week.
I think the one thing, after watching the Packers play the Bears last week, the Vikings should be able to run the football tomorrow. But again, I do think they have to respect the pass. That's obviously going to make a huge difference. But I think McKinnon and Asiata should have an impact again tomorrow night.
It was at least fun to see with McKinnon in there that a guy had a capability to maybe take it to the house or make a big gain, because Asiata's not going to get you more than
He's a heck of an athlete.
10 years,
Asiata takes it to the house. It's usually from 1 or 2
Yeah,
yards
right,
out,
right.
though.
If you need 3, he'll get you 3. If you need 5, he'll get you 3. You know,
Those
one of
guys really
kind of
are
things,
polar
so.
opposites. They're almost the perfect complements for each other.
They kind of
really.
are. They kind of are. Let's we'll see how that materializes this week. Let's move on now to baseball. The Minnesota Twins, big news this week. After 13 seasons, they fired manager Ron Gardenhire, one of the longest tenured managers, second longest tenured manager in the bigs. You just wrapped up a 4-year stretch Gardy did with the Twins, their worst 4-year stretch in team history. The 4th straight 90-loss season. The Twins finished 70 and 92. And guys, it was kind of an odd press conference. Gardy even said, Terry Ryan was there too, he said, Gardy agreed with this decision. He said the team just needed a new voice, and he was for this move. Hayden, what do you think? Are you surprised by this move, and do you agree with it?
I think Hayden's tearing up over there. He's
Yeah,
a Gardy
no,
guy.
I'll be okay. I can make it through this segment. But no, I'm not surprised. I was surprised from the standpoint, I guess, that the Twins never fire their managers. So, I mean, from that standpoint, it's shocking. But I've been saying for the last few months that I thought this really might be the end for Gardy. It was the first year where I really felt that way.
You can't lose 90-plus games 4 years in a row, and you can't lay it all at the feet of the manager. The personnel wasn't great, but at the same time, you have to do something. You can't just say, oh, we need better. At some point, you got to shake it up and get a new voice in there, and Gardenhire even said that himself. Sometimes you need a new voice. 13 years that's almost like a millennium now for, in this climate of coaching. Managers and coaches just don't last that long. You have a younger group of players coming up. The game's moving more to analytics, which I don't know if Gardy was a big analytics guy. He was more of a, what was in his gut type of guy. So I just think it's time for a new direction with the Twins, and I think it was time for this to happen.
Well, and I think, Gardy's got the reputation of being a player's coach. But I think when that goes on for a while and things start to go sour, that, people can get a little lackadaisical. I mean, things like with the Aaron Hicks thing, when he stopped switch hitting and then he went back to it again, it was just, you're kind of sitting there like, where's Gardy when this is going on? I mean, it just felt like, you need somebody to step up and say, hey, wait a minute, and take control of the situation. And there was certain times the Hicks thing stands out to me as where he just wasn't there.
And then the other thing, everyone criticizes him, some of the things he did, some of the guys he kept out of spring training, this and that. And I guess you just wonder how much of that are your hands tied by the organization. Like, for example, Alex Meyer, these guys, if the organization's saying, you're not bringing him up before June because we don't want his arbitration.
Yeah.
So a lot of times you don't know the behind the scenes of why decisions are made, but at the same time, it was just going nowhere.
I agree. I mean, I think it was time for a change. At some point, you just have to do something to shake things up. Whether he still is a competent manager, probably manage again, sometime maybe even in the near future. But you had to shake things up.
I think we should shake the show up. Next week, Hayden's hosting.
Hayden, you good with that?
It's
He's hosted once and then he
I've
never
hosted.
hosted again, so I don't know what happened if you.
How much are we concerned about ratings, I guess?
That's a good question. Sometimes you just got to shake
You
things
better
up,
stick
though,
in your
Hayden.
chair,
I don't know. Yeah, interesting thought on the Gardy firing. On ESPN poll, 56,000 people roughly, 52% agreed with it, 48% disagreed with it. So kind of a pretty mix, and maybe Twins fans would say that too. Although I think Twins fans probably would have said, it was time for a change.
More
I
the
think
pro
so too.
firing,
I think so too. Yeah.
I just don't get what's to disagree with. I mean, what other teams that wanted to see?
Well, maybe you
90
say,
losses again.
no matter, you could have put Joe Torre in there, you could have put Tony La Russa, and that team wouldn't have won.
That's a
because
good
there just
argument.
wasn't much talent. Right?
You could, if John McGraw was resurrected from the dead, I don't think he would be able to manage this team to the playoffs. I mean,
But at that point, though, did you see improvement in some areas? And like you said, it just seemed like a grab bag of they didn't have a plan. Hicks was leading off from day one, a guy who hadn't even seen a major league at bat. Then he's hitting switch hitting, not switch hitting. Joe Mauer, is he playing first base? I don't know. It was at times a train wreck the last few years.
All right, so let's talk about some possible replacements for Gardy then, guys. Name has been thrown out there, obviously, Paul Molitor. He's on the coaching staff, actually been coaching first base for the last few months of the season. Doug Minkiewicz, another former Twin, he was at A-ball with the Twins this year. And a name a lot of people have thrown out there because the Twins have a lot of Latin players in their team, Ozzie Guillen, former White Sox manager a long time. So, any of those names, excite you? Do you think that one of those guys probably has the job? Who would you maybe like to see get this job?
I don't know. Does it excite me? Is Paul Molitor going to be good? I don't know. I mean, it seems. I think Molitor is going to be the guy. From a entertainment standpoint, I think Ozzie Guillen would be a good guy to put in there. But
Ozzie Guillen's the only guy that really excites you because he's
just different too. If you really want to
out
shake
there.
things up, you pick him.
I'm not saying I'm pro Ozzie Guillen. I'm just saying
but
if you're
here's
looking for exciting.
here's the thing that might leave me a little leery on Molitor. How many really good players become good managers? That's where maybe a Doug Minkiewicz or I think Chip Hale was a name thrown out there.
Yeah,
someone who more of a bench guy or someone who was a utility guy who observed a lot of the game from the bench. Maybe sometimes those are better managers. So I don't know. I'm with Hayden, Doug Minkiewicz, Dougie Ball game.
I think he would be interesting, and we've seen this happen.
He's done well too, and the other thing
yeah,
I think
and
I
a
read
lot
about
of
him was
teams
that
are doing this with younger guys. I mean, you're seeing Detroit with Brad Osmus. Matt Williams hasn't been out of baseball that long, and he's managing the Nationals, and they've been pretty good. So.
And at different levels of minor leagues or whatever, Minkiewicz has coached a lot of these guys with the Twins. They're just coming up. So
yeah, a lot of them swear
as well.
by him from what I've read. So I mean,
although the one thing that's interesting, goes beyond the Twins, kind of an overall theme. I did hear somewhere nationally or locally talking about where baseball is losing its personality in managing. Now everyone's an analytics guy. Everyone's Joe Madden. They're crunching numbers. There's no Earl Weavers. Ozzie Guillen's not in there. So I think overall that could be harmful to baseball because some of the things that draw people to teams are the personalities of the managers, and they felt that's, like you said, Brad Osmus, and while those guys are great managers, I mean, could you pick them out of a crowd?
There's no.
I mean, if he showed up at the Forum building right now, would you even know who that guy was, Hayden?
Yeah, probably.
He's one of the few.
Well, you're a
There's
geek.
no Earl Weavers. There's
Normal
no Billy
people
Martins
would,
out
yeah.
there. That's for sure these days.
Is he wearing his Tigers hat or I mean?
He's wearing his Tigers hat and a name tag that
I
says
think
Brad. Could you get that?
Yeah,
okay, just checking.
The Twins ended this season, guys, with the lowest attendance since 2004. Now, the poll ads claim that it had absolutely nothing to do with things, but still an interesting fact that even with Target Field now in his fifth year, lowest attendance in 10 years.
When
for the
people
Twins.
say it has nothing to do with it, it has something
It has
to do with
something to do with
it. If you have to somehow address that it has nothing to do with it, it means it does. I mean, I think that's another reason. The Target Field, whatever, having people just coming out and watching games because it was Target Field is starting to wear off. And, now they can say, we shook it up, we got a new manager, watch this team develop. We got all these young guys. I mean, I think that's going to be their marketing,
But you're still not going to have the young guys that a lot of people want to watch. Buxton's not starting the season. Sano's not starting the season with next year. Alex Myers probably not. But at least you got some young guys, Santana, Vargas, some of those guys. Phil Hughes coming off a great year. So you have some guys to go out and watch.
And they're going to go get Max Scherzer, Hayden said.
Yeah.
Off camera.
Or big game James Shields. Well, until last night.
He wasn't
really
very
a
big in that game.
Good
well,
enough, I guess.
I know Terry Ryan has said he wants to get this done as quick as he can, but he's going to look internally and externally as well. So we'll see. Maybe by the next time we have a roundtable, the Twins will have themselves a new manager. Guys, thanks very much. We'll see you next week on the Roundtable.